Good morning, Illini. I'm Matt, your host here for Healthy Illini Podcast. We're glad you're with us. This is a special episode this week. We've dropped two this week because it's homecoming here at the University of Illinois, and our topic today is homecoming. We're talking with some alums, so we wanted to make sure we got that in during this week. Because of that, we will not have an episode next week on our usual Tuesday. We're doubling up this week and then taking a little bit of a break next week to reset, and then we'll come back in after that. But just wanted to give you a heads up. But today, we are talking about alumni. We're talking about experiences here on the campus, and I'm really excited to be joined by three newcomers to our program. We've had a lot of people from McKinley on the program, but not these three, and so I'm excited. We're first joined by Dr. Bryn Schuler. She is one of our physicians in the medical clinics. Dr. Schuler, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Also joined by Tom Duggan, who is in our business office, has been there for a number of years, does a great job. But Tom, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, and it's Dugan.
Dugan, oh man.
No, you're fine.
I knew I was going to, I was reading, I was second guessing I was reading, but Tom Dugan, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then our third guest is Janine Bankskin, and she is our stress management educator with the health education department. Janine, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
So, as I said, it's homecoming on campus, and I just put out an open call to our employees, who would want to be on the program, who's an alumni of the university, and you three answered. So let's start off with, as alumni, when were you on campus, and what did you study?
2003 to 2005. I was a transfer student from Parkland, so just finished my junior and senior year here, and I studied anthropology and geography.
I was here from 1991 to 1996. I got my 2 bachelor's degrees in general engineering and physiology.
Janine?
So, yeah, I was on campus. I've been on campus twice now. So I was here 86 to 91 with 2 bachelor's degrees, one in aero engineering and the other in psychology. We had a pretty cool 5-year engineering LAS program back then. I was off campus for a while, and then I returned to campus in 2014 for my graduate work in kinesiology.
So this is really interesting because we've got like 3 generations or eras. You got the late 80s, you got the 90s, and you got the early 2000s. So you're each going to have some pretty unique perspectives on your experiences. But first off, what made you choose to come to the University of Illinois? Like, was it something you always wanted to do, or was it kind of a path that kind of fell in your lap?
Oh, I was going to say, I'll jump in on that one. So I mentioned my aero engineering degree. I have never been a practicing engineer, but I came here specifically for the engineering program from out of state. So I was an out of state student, which makes it even a little bit more interesting when we talk about homecoming and coming back to campus. But I came for aero engineering. I didn't like it as much, and that's where I picked up the psychology. So we are still an excellent school in all of those areas.
Absolutely.
And then came back when I changed careers for the kinesiology, and we do really cool research, health research, community health and kinesiology here. So that was the other reason I came back here for my graduate work, was something I was interested in doing, and some of the work is right here out of U of I, Beckman Institute, and other places that kind of pulled pieces together for me.
My mom and I, when we came down to the U of I to look it over before I came here, we really just came to cross it off our list. So we went around the campus, we talked to people, we went home, we were in the car about an hour, and it was a silent hour. And my mom said, "So, what did you think?" And I said, "I think I liked it." And yeah, it was a great school. And I was coming for engineering as well. And yeah, and then I added the physiology because I liked the engineering coursework, but I found out when I co-opted that I didn't like doing actual engineering work. But by the time I figured that out, I had 5 classes to finish for the engineering degree, and so I got the physiology degree too.
similar. That was, I finished the aero engineering degree because my parents, similar conversations about the schools and checking them out. And so I finished it, but have the psychology with LAS too. So both of those colleges flip-flop. I much enjoyed the psychology classes.
My dad said, because I wanted to go to medical school out of high school, he said, that's nice, get an engineering degree so you can get a job if you change your mind, which I understood and I thought it made sense. So, but yeah, I didn't change my mind.
What about you, Tom? What brought you here?
I graduated from Monticello High School, which is just about a 25-minute drive west of here. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do next, but it seemed logical to take classes at Parkland College in Champaign. And after 2 years of earning credit there, I was faced with a similar decision, and it seemed logical to go to the local university after that and get a bachelor's degree. So that's what I did.
This is I'm like slightly geeking out on this because this wasn't anything we talked about beforehand. All these things you've said, we just kind of threw out, hey, you're an alumni. But I really like that you're giving snapshots and pictures of things that our listeners may be going through, because there's a lot of students on campus who are like, do I change my major? I'm already invested in this. And you've given 2 examples of, hey, it's okay. This is where it goes, and this is a viable path, and this is a viable thing that happens. And Tom, I ended up here years ago, kind of the same reason. I grew up a half hour from here, and it was kind of like, where do you go? I guess I go to U of I, and that's kind of where it started, which is totally okay too. But I really like that we're getting some relatable perspectives in this, and that's what homecoming is about, right? That's what you come back, alumni come back, they connect with the students who are here and kind of tell their stories and learn their stories, and students can kind of see, hey, this is what my path could look like. These are the things that could be laying out there for me. And so I really appreciate that we have these interesting cross sections that are happening in this almost impromptu in this episode today. But I digress. I could go on that for a while. I wanted to ask you about the perspective of working on campus now at your alma mater. But before that, I actually want to flip flop some of the direction we're going and talk about some reminiscing because you've all been here on different eras, and the campus has changed. I mean, the campus has changed in the last 10 years that I've been here. What are some memories you have of being on campus, maybe even around homecoming, but just some things that you, when you think of your time as a student, what are the things that kind of stand out to you?
There was a movie theater on Green Street and 6th.
I remember.
And I can't remember what it was called right now, but I remember that movie theater, and I remember the used bookstore next to it.
I remember the movie theater in the 90s had a Rocky Horror Picture Show event every year, and that was my experience with that theater. But I remember, I'd forgotten about that. I remember that
think
theater.
it was called the Co-ed.
Oh, yes, it was
Right?
the Co-ed.
And then Follett's, the bookstore
Yes.
next door.
No, I went to, there was Follett's, but this was a used bookstore on the other side of the Co-ed.
Okay.
The Co-ed. Okay. Memories, yes. Tom, Janine, what are some things you remember from campus from your time?
On the Green Street theme, Antonio's Pizza, and a little farther back, and it might have even been in the same space, I'm not sure, Green Street Records was the record store on like between 6th and Wright, maybe. And
you've now lost all our listeners because they don't know what records are anymore. You're dating
right.
yourself. Yeah. No, but yeah, I remember that shop there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I was thinking campus. I was part of the Greek system when I was an undergrad here on campus. So with homecoming, I see how parts of it are the same as it was back when I was here, and parts of it are different in how we celebrate different things. But I stayed in the area after undergrad too, so I think we were talking about how things kind of blurred together of what was where and when it was there. But then also coming back in as a non-traditional graduate student in 2014, some of it, sometimes walking back into buildings was just the same as it was years before, just a different part of campus. I just did some outreach over at Granger Library, which didn't even exist when I was doing engineering. And so some of those conversations, it's not quite homecoming, but talking with engineers last week, they'll walk up and they'll say, oh, I'm aero engineering. I said, hey, did you know this? And did you know this? And so it's kind of fun just all around, reminiscing a little bit about what it was, but also like, hey, you know, we have an astronaut that's an alumni here. And I know there was a student last week that was, is he coming back for homecoming? I said, sometimes he does, right? So those different things, the more they change, the more they stay the same in some ways.
You definitely get some of that deja vu if you've been on campus and you go into a building that you were in as a student or something else. And it's that weird feeling of like an instant back in time kind of thing. Excuse me, that actually segues into the next thing I wanted to ask, is because you have the perspective of being an alumni. There's many alumni that are going to be coming on campus for homecoming, for the football game and things like that. But you also work on campus. So you're here a lot, right? So what is it like working at your alma mater? Does it feel a little surreal? Was this something always in your plan? Was it something you hoped to do? Or did it kind of fall in your lap there as well? But, you know, what is your perspective, having been a student before, but now being on campus? What are the things that you kind of notice?
It was surreal for me and nothing I had ever planned, because I was a physician in a small town in Minnesota and I burned out on the job, and I said, I'm going to think about it for 2 months to my husband, but then I think I'll tell them I'm leaving. So he said to me when I got home the next night, I have a job I think you should look at. And it was the McKinley job. So no, I had never planned on coming back here. But yeah, I was very glad to. It was kind of surreal for maybe the first 6 months, but then I got used to McKinley and I bike to work or I walk to work. And yeah, and it's nice to be here and be able to take a walk or a bike ride and see all of campus, which is, yeah, it may be different, but there are buildings that are just the same.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't really have a plan when I was finishing up my degree. I had to get a couple more credits right at the end, so I took archaeology field school in the summer and networked my way into getting a job pretty much right after that at the archaeology survey, which is Illinois State Archaeology Survey. And that was actually my first job for the university. I was a academic hourly employee getting paid $8.50.
So I guess I worked, when I came back to campus in 2014, I was working as a research coordinator in kinesiology as I did my master's degree. So in the same field. So I was literally on campus or doing research on campus from maybe 5:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night as my kids went off. My youngest had just gone off to college. So for me, being back on campus at that time, school was all new to me also. And then I started teaching for a while, and I've been here at McKinley about 1.5 years now, and that's been a different experience for me. But in my role here at McKinley, as health education, I find myself bringing in pieces of that undergrad and graduate experience daily, like I just mentioned when we were over at Granger talking with the engineers over there. So I don't know that I envisioned myself being here on purpose. I call myself an accidental PhD student. I love learning, and the university has so much to learn, so much cool things going on, resources. It's a lot of fun for me to be here and being able to do those things. So finding those things, being here, yeah, I don't know that I planned it, but it's been working out well. I literally can say that I love what I do on a daily basis, and I love what the campus has to offer as well, and finding even pockets of new things and new people even in this conversation, Matt, was like, oh, I didn't know that,
It's one of those things that we are a massive campus, and it's a wonderful thing, but there's so much you don't know because you get, in your routine or your pocket, and that's totally fine. But it's always good to branch out a little bit and find out about the people around you or the things around you and the areas you're not necessarily familiar with. So I'm going to throw one at you that I didn't prep you for on this question, but it's two-part. One, think back to your time as a student and your time now. Did you have a favorite place on campus as a student, a place you like to just go, or a favorite building or whatever? And then is that the same now, or do you have a new favorite place on campus now that you're working here? And it'd be something simple as just, I like sitting on the quad, something like that. But what was something that you particularly, a place you particularly like when you were a student, and then what is a place now?
I'll take that one. I remember going to the Etc., which was at the time a coffee house, because there was one coffee house on campus, and it was the Espresso Royale down on by Lincoln, by Cranert, the theater, and the church, when it was purposing the Etc., looked around and they said, yeah, there's a ton of bars, but there's not much in the way of coffee houses and places you can go and not drink. So hence the Etc. And it was dark, it was lit with oil lamps, and I worked there for like 2 or 3 years on Friday nights. And and I came back, and the Etc. is now something completely different. It's the LGBT and the international students, and they don't open on Friday nights anymore. But so I instead go to Paradiso, the coffee house, because there are many coffee houses now here on campus.
Was that the same place as Green Street Coffee House?
No.
No, that's a different. Okay. Do you remember Green Street Coffee House?
No, that's
okay.
Your
that's more
time,
of a 2000
not
thing. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Tom, what was your favorite place?
What comes to mind is the main stacks in the library. It's just kind of cool and mysterious and never-ending. Often deserted or feels deserted, and each addition as you go, I guess, from the entrance to the west is newer and more updated, and there's maybe like three or four levels of that, east to west. But then also if you go up and down between the decks, some of the decks are like only the ceilings are at 5 feet, and there's bare light bulbs everywhere, and it's 80 degrees in there for some reason, and it's just a cool, mysterious place.
Is that still your favorite place on campus? Do you have a new place now as an employee?
Yeah, I can't think of one right now, but
so I would say
I don't get out as much as I want to.
As much passion as you just described that, I would say that the stacks are still one of your
still
favorite
cool.
places.
Yeah, and it's bittersweet now that I think they're going to tear it down and rebuild it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Janine, what about you?
I always enjoyed the spaces I lived in. So as we're kind of reminiscing back and forth, I spent 2 years at ISR, and then I spent 2 years in my sorority house, which is not in the same location anymore, but it used to be on Busey in Michigan, so not too far from McKinley. And so some of the best memories at both of those places are with friends and colleagues, and whether it was studying in the basement at ISR or studying in the basement at the sorority house, which is interesting because I've been to both of those places recently, and they're completely different. I was just doing some outreach at ISR, and I wouldn't have recognized it from what my memories are of hanging out and studying there. There is a coffee house there in the building now, which those didn't exist even. They were just starting up when I was graduating. And then as far as now, I have found, you meant the quad has been a place. Sometimes I'll go and just lay on the quad and look at the trees. Or one day I was having a frustrating day, and I walked over to Cranert and sat in the amphitheater outside of Cranert and found some peace there. The other place that I like that is not too far from McKinley is the Arboretum and the Japan Gardens.
Yeah.
So finding those nature spots. And my most recent one actually is just walking in and out of McKinley, the water feature, and there's gardens, the rain garden right outside of McKinley. I find joy in that when I come in the morning, right? Just noticing the flowers and things. So I don't know that I have a favorite spot right now, but I like to find those spots that feel good, that bring me those little pockets of joy.
Yeah, I want to add, as you were talking, Janine, that reminded me, I've been stuck in the office for so long, I haven't been taking my breaks, but one thing I love about this location on campus where McKinley is situated is we do have Illini Grove just right next door, and the tall oak trees and the shade is really nice, and the Dorner retention pond just beyond the parking lot here is with the prairie plants, and then right next to that the red oak rain garden.
Mm-hmm.
There
are so many cool little
yeah, and the conservatory across the street too.
And I heard that's open for people to. I haven't been in it yet.
That's awesome, especially in the middle of winter. It's great to go in there and get a little tropical break.
Oh, nice!
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
And this highlights there's so many cool spots on campus that if you're looking for them, you'll find something. There's a spot for everybody on our campus. We got so many different buildings and green spaces and things like that. So if you're listening and you haven't explored the campus, if you're a student here, if you're just visiting, take a chance to walk around. It's a wonderful walkable campus and has so many nice areas. So the last thing I wanted to ask, and this is kind of falling in that category a little bit, but we always say hindsight is 20/20. Looking back, you all have the experience of being students, but also as staff. But if you could go back and talk to your freshman self, if you could go back and have that conversation, what is one piece of advice? I'm sure you can write books on your experience now, but what's one piece of advice that you could look back and you say, like, if I'd only known, or if I'd only realized, and you wish you could go tell yourself, and that someone else might benefit from now?
I probably do this on a daily basis when I'm meeting with students when they're feeling stressed about different things. You mentioned it earlier, I don't know if this is the right major and things like that. I call it practice what I teach. So I don't have all the answers, but going back when I'm talking with students, finding something fun that sparks your joy, that you feel passionate about, whether it is within your major or not within your major, or finding an RSO or something like that to get involved. Our theme this week that we're working on is connecting with people for stress management. And that is part of that. Find that piece that you can connect to something here. And if you haven't found it yet, we have all sorts of groups to come and talk to. Come find us around campus just have a little bit of fun too. Most people only get this chance once.
So, I think, as a young person on a big campus with all kinds of options, it's easy to get overwhelmed, and it's easy to get anxious. And the older I've gotten and the more experience I've gotten in a career is, I realize it's some of the same things that were scary and overwhelming are just a different way to look at it. Is these are opportunities, and there are opportunities and interesting things everywhere you turn.
When I moved back down here, my family came back down and we walked across the quad, and my brother stood looking at the quad down at Follinger, and he said, "I just want to yell, don't ever leave," because he'd had so much fun here and I'd had so much fun here that we didn't recognize at the time, and we only recognized it in memories and looking back. So have fun. You're worried about so many different things and what you're going to do when you graduate. And but just take a minute and enjoy what you're doing.
Well, guys, I appreciate you taking the time and walking down this memory lane with me on this, and sharing your experiences as homecoming is happening, and we have so many people coming back to campus. It's always good to hear these stories and hear, like, ask the people that are around you, because you all heard stories today about each other. You've worked together, and you've heard stories about each other you didn't know. But Tom, Janine, Dr. Schuler, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
It is homecoming here at the University of Illinois, and there are a lot of stories. These are just 3 of the stories of the hundreds of thousands of people that have come through this campus. So if you're listening to this on campus and you're here for homecoming, stop somebody, ask them their question, ask them their story. When were they here? What do they remember? What's changed? And you might get some really interesting perspectives on things. If you want to talk to us more about it, you want to reach out to us here at Healthy Illini or at McKinley, feel free. We'd love to have chats with you. Yes, we are a medical facility, but we also like talking to students. And so we'd love to hear from you and kind of hear your story as well. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we are here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.